Hey guys, it's Jay, and I am doing another recap. I'm doing a recap on the Bible study that we did that talked about, it was in the Jesus Walk series, and we talked about sin, judgment, and condemnation. We were addressing the issue of the adulterous woman, and there were a few things that stood out. In the study, we talked about how this woman was actually guilty. She was guilty of adultery. She was caught in the very act. Okay, how embarrassing could that be? Have we ever done anything that has led us to being embarrassed and led us to, rightfully so, be in a situation to where we can be judged? We talked about that word judge and judgment, and that's why I challenge us to really have an idea of things before we say them, because judgment simply means a decision of a court or a judge or an opinion or a conclusion. They made a judgment that they were going to follow um, the law of Moses. Okay, um, that was the judgment. Okay, um, we also talked about the fact that condemnation is something that's close to judgment. Okay, so we dealt with, again, three things: the sin, the judgment, and the condemnation, and in that order, essentially, because again, there was sin. The sin was adultery. Okay, we dealt with the fact, again, that judgment, there was a judgment placed for this act of adultery that she was caught in the act of. Okay, but the condemnation part is really where the blessing came in, because what does condemnation mean? It simply means the act of condemning someone to a punishment. Furthermore, sentencing. What was the sentence for this woman? That she should have been stoned. Okay. Um, there were some noteworthy things that came out of this as well. There was a hidden agenda. And in our next Bible study, we talked about, um, which I won't go too much into, but we talked about um, the accused, okay, and how Jesus was the accused. All right, so we have one situation, this current Bible study, in which we have someone who's clearly guilty, okay, and the next Bible study and that recap will talk about um, Jesus being accused and being not guilty, okay. But it's funny because in this here, um, they were looking for a two for one, okay. They already essentially had got the woman, and rightfully so, but they were looking to get Jesus caught up. The funny thing about that is every time you look to get Jesus caught up, you end up getting caught up yourself. Okay. So what do we mean by that? Okay. Well, let's take a look at something here. Um, Before I go there, let me say this. It leads us to ask some questions. Have we ever condemned ourselves? Maybe for bad decisions. Have you ever sentenced yourself? Felt like, I've done it this time. I deserve this or I deserve that. And very well might deserve it. But we must take into consideration the outcome that happened here. And what was the outcome? The outcome essentially was, for those who felt that they had the right to condemn her and sentence her, Jesus just asked a simple question. That simple question not only allowed for them for her to get off the hook, but essentially for him to get off the hook. What do you mean by that? Well, anytime you try to get Jesus caught up, he asked you one question, and essentially what happened? They all walked away. He said, okay, listen, you want to know what I say? Here, if you think you don't have sin, won't you stone this woman to death? Throw a stone. And a few cool things about it is that, Jesus didn't initially answer them. They persisted to ask him. And even when that happened, he said one thing, and that one thing was enough to make them walk away and not throw one stone. Another thing that is profound in this is that, if you notice, God never addressed. I asked the question. I said, "Well, God, did you give her a pass?" And the answer to that is no. He didn't give her a pass. But what he did, and shout, give a like, do whatever. If you've been in this situation, the situation that simply says this: I got caught in my mess, and God didn't expose me to everybody. He waited till everybody left, and then he addressed the sin that was in her life. Why did he do that? Because, and we've talked about this before, sin is a relationship issue. And I'd like to believe that if she didn't have a relationship with God at that point, she had one then. If for no reason, because there is such compassion that not only did you save my life, but you didn't embarrass me in front of people. You didn't make me an example, which you very well could have done because I was guilty and because you're God. So this was a very, I got a lot out of this Bible study. Just really kind of showed me how great God is, reiterated how great God is, furthermore, how great He is to us. And again, this is the Jesus Walk series where we dealt with sin, judgment, and condemnation. As I close this, remember this: there is therefore no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. God bless you.